money, fame, whatever you want. But you always have to be humble in this race and listen. And I really like to listen and listen to people who really want what's best for you.
From what you express, I see that you are passionate about food tasting good more than anything else, because it is the main objective that you can enjoy and delight in your food now.
They have already seen it on my networks and they say, I want that, I want how much it costs. And really the difference is not no, it is abyssing the truth between a service and another. And they say, yes, I want that.
Once again, we welcome the CEO of Dream Planner from Buenin Destination, Ecuador, who is accompanied by a person she deeply trusts. This ensures that her projects are executed not only with exceptional pedigree, but also at an elite professional level. Furthermore, we have one of Al's head chefs, Alexis Peña Thank you, Alexis, for accepting our invitation. Logically, we also want people to know you, and thank you, Jessica, also for allowing us this moment, since we are going to do a program every 2 weeks about the Green Planner and the world of weddings. No, and we are going to discuss the psychology behind them. So, Alexis wanted to start with you this how. How did you discover your passion for climate art?
Well, it was different factors. Well, on another factor, I'm going to be super honest. When I lived with my dad, I had a lady who cooked delicious food. Well, then came a moment of circumstance. I think at about 15, 14 years old, I came to live with my mother. No, it is not common for the teacher, sometimes not even the mother cook. Well, at that time, my mother cooked, that is, if she made a cheese soup and there was no cheese or milk, there goes what she didn't like at that time. He didn't like it. So the story was like that then. I had an aunt that Jessica knows. She's an aunt who collaborates with me, and she cooked, and I cooked super well. But well, for me, cooking super good already then, and that's how it began with the. I asked my aunt, how do you do it? How are you going to do this? How are you going to do the other? How is this done? So I liked the dish, dried chicken, and it tells how it's made. And I started to experiment. To cook, because my mom was actually a single woman and she didn't have time to cook for us. There were three men already arriving at the house and there were three of us. So my mother had to work, and the little time she had to feed us and work. Well, I mean, then forgiveness began from there.
Do something fast because we working mothers. We try to do something quick to try to solve it. In this case, the diet is different. I'm here a little helping her mother, not her mother worked. That is, I'm not very good at cooking either, but I attribute it to that, not to the fact that we are working mothers and cannot give her all the art she deserves. The issue of the kitchen. So you have to do something very quickly. I imagine your mom must have been that quick, easy to prepare.
Right? Sure. Well, at the root of that, my mom, obviously, yes, has never liked cooking. Of course, not what he liked. So I had between my two careers, they were journalism or gastronomy. So I did, yes, I am very analyst, they would say, on the topic of the country situation or future situation. If I say I'm going to start studying, it has to be something that generally doesn't take up my time. Of course, I don't like to take up anyone's time or anyone's time with me. So in this case, I said, well, I'm going to study gastronomy. I already thought it was easy. Of course, at the beginning, he says, one study gastronomy, he says, and he's going to chop onions, tomatoes. Of course, currently it's handled like this. There are some courses that say, well, become a chef or cook, like let's say in 1 year. And in reality, it's not 1 year that the chef became a cook, who is obviously a chef catalogued in France, in Italy. Is he someone who has a lot of experience, years of experience? Can he be called a chef or cook? Well, I don't care if I became a chef or cook, it's still a job to serve. Well, and that's how it began. So I started to study astronomy at a university, and to get a degree in astronomy, I liked it a lot. I didn't have many foundations because of what I had. 13, 14 years, I would be on television, a program called Target Fire. In Ecuador, I was secondary enrolled. They paid me $20.15 for this one. Something I remember was the CT. Then my journey began, and there I met several people. Between that Sala, then Carla Sala gave me Gino's contact, and there I started interning directly from MTV as an intern behind the camera. Then they put me in front of the cameras, and I started cooking, and I really liked the gastronomy. As a result of that, I also studied technical industrial development at La Católica because I also have another degree. Something's up with the hands, so I'm an expert in industrial development, technical manipulation. That will be the gourmet. I started my gastronomy journey stronger because it is what I am passionate about, and to this day, I continue to do it. There were difficult moments that I obviously wanted to throw in the towel, but I said, no, it's just that if I like something, I have to do it. I have to perfect it, and I'm still missing. I mean, I am very humble. I come from, I would say, a mentor. I would say Jessica Weiner, a mentor that you can have everything, money, fame, whatever you want. But you always have to be humble in this race and listen. And I really like to listen and listen to people who really want what's best for you. There are no comments that have hurt me in which Jessica. So I have tried to assimilate and understand that there are people who say it in an incorrect way, not with a bad heart, but in an incorrect way. Well, and that's how gastronomy began, which is what I'm passionate about today's gastronomy. I cooked for my family, and I sold ceviche in my house where I to myself. But my neighbor was very stingy. They didn't pay me. They complained about everything. So I'm not going to sell ceviche.
Yes, maybe he sold them expensive. Let's see how much he sold it.
I don't remember accountant.
One at a time, he said.
I don't remember he was complaining. I know that, oh, I mean, no, and purple was sneaking in there. Later, he also complained, but something I understood that when one comes forward, there are people who see that he is coming forward. At that time, obviously, he was on television. He was my age. I think he was like 2,425 years old, not 23. And it was an age at which he was a beginner. I started with no foundation in television or labor relations. He was very shy. From there, I began to have contact with chefs outside the country, national and international fairs. I've had courses, well, countless things. What I still need to update myself, I believe that gastronomy is something, it is, as I would say, like science or like medicine. One has, sorry.
Medicine, yes, like medicine.
Of course, one has to experience, see, analyze. Then there are things, and what does harm? Since certain products that do harm, that they tell you are not hunters, or things like that. So I also try to cook not for myself, but for people like me, because one of the experiences that I have learned. Well, these experiences, when I started doing events, I appeared on television because in the canal here in Ecuador, they loved the theme of the canals, who were people who owed good to the state. Then there was a malfunction of the canal. So they began to remove, and I left. I worked at a friend's restaurant, but I think I lasted 2 months or 3 months. Actually, I didn't feel very comfortable because I left place where I traveled, where I went out. I had contact with people a lot there, and getting into a place to a kitchen that's not bad, just in case. That's what I wanted, obviously, but it was complex because it was the same cooking, the same thing every day, the same thing. I mean, it was already mental. It's like I took the onion and chopped it like this, and that's it. So, and it's something that bores me as a cook. I'm very bored of cooking the same thing and the same thing. So, of course, I learned a lot in seafood. Ivan Gray, Jessica, I already know Ivan Gray then. So I started from there, and there I began to resume, obviously, the events business that was previously called Gino, Alexis, Gino Molinari, something like that. I was in his image, and I was already so obviously a mark was made there later that we were quizzing event that we had a full wedding would be true yesterday.
Yeah, I had the full package I did in my decorating.
So my thing is not decoration, I mean you say, but I mean I think I have patience for my career, but I have a lot of patience for many things. As an example, I understand that there is passion. Each one has his passion and shoemaker for your shoe. So example, If a client comes to me and tells me, put this flour, take off the flour. No, 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 no. I put it on and that's it. That is, I try to make everything cement. But Jessica knows that brides are complicated. So then you have to have that, yes, they are no, I don't think I can because I'm obviously not very good at this job. I mean, I'm good at cooking and
I use patience.
soy.
I'm very happy that you have been able, for example, to provide content that the culinary art gastronomy career is not only knowing how to cook, but knowing how to manage, knowing how to lead, knowing how to manage, not because you are going to have to comply with certain uses, own statutes, or own convictions, such as in this case, your passion for cooking, but also understand that, for example, how important it is to have a mentor, not like you had at Chef Molinari, no. So that mentor gave you a lot of his teachings, but you acquired it and made it your own, which for you. From what you express, I see that you are passionate about food tasting good more than anything else, because it is the main objective that you can enjoy and delight in your food. What I also like is that you were very resilient in times of difficulty. Not many times throw in the towel. There are many people who do not give you the value, but one himself gives the value. No, no one can take you away or add value to you. That gives it to one himself. And I'm glad you could see that in yourself and you could correct those situations to create a new version of yourself as an Alexis 2.1, 2.03, and were you subsequently able to continue this passionate career that. So my question, I really like your story a lot. Alexis is very, very pretty. Jessica, how'd you do? How did you find Alexis? How did you guys go? They were able to connect. It was a genuine way. It was a way, I mean, I would like them to relate.
I'll tell you that. I'll tell you.
Jessica, tell Alexis because this is the guest and we want to hear. Don't worry about that.
I'm honest, yes.
You know all my history, so calm down.
Well, Jessica, when he hired us, we were doing full service weddings. In this case, us. I think it was the first beach wedding, I think. Not then, I didn't do many beach weddings, really.
Exactly. No one did beach weddings.
Even then, there were few, but I don't know why. Back then, my partner hired us, Jessica, with decoration and catering. I think it is the comprehensive service with flowers, decoration. We launch, we do and try to do the best we can. How was the process? A little complex because there were actually a lot of problems. I mean, I said the wedding was still that a week like that. I don't want to get married anymore.
One day I get married and the next the wedding is cancelled. I get married.
So, of course, the wedding process was like Jessica wanted something like that, and something specific was done to her. I want this, this, and that. I think the wedding it was log something.
So it was really trendy here. The trend was more popular in other countries, particularly rustic weddings. So they come to me with their proposal and I tell them, well, but I really want something different. And they really liked the good thing about them that we made quite a mess because although they had no experience, they didn't tell me no, they didn't say that. No, we can't do that. That doesn't exist. That's not done here. No, did not exist in their vocabulary, but ready. Let's see how we do it. Let's see how we manage it. Both in decoration, although it was not his forte, but hey, the partner, he had really liked the theme of decoration and Alexis for her part. The same with the menu. And that was the first impression I got because the first complicated client he had was me. So I told Alexis, he presented me with all his options for dishes. So I tell him, but no. Yes, I want something different so that visually people can enjoy the gastronomy of the beach. But they suggested that I always suggest that from now on my clients so much food on the menu because not all people can eat, etc., etc. No, so I somehow wanted to have shells on my plate, but not everyone eats shells. So that's where the theme of, well, what if we place a shell only decorative and on top of the shells we put, I don't know if it was fish in seafood sauce or shrimp in seafood sauce. No, I don't remember at the moment. But anyway, he said, of course, we are going to prepare this dish for you. And that's what it was. It's the first time, Alex, true that you made that dish and made it for my wedding. So it was in
reality, actually. It was the decoration of the clear plate, the decoration of the plate. I don't know.
No, it didn't include concha as such. I mean, it's not that it was the decoration of the plate that made a big difference. So I really like that. From there, I started hiring him in all my marriages.
In other words, from there arose this relationship that has and trust is very important, right? Because for example, today Dream Plan is doing destination weddings, and I remember I asked you, do you have a trusted chef? And she without hesitation mentioned Alexis. Do you know? So for example, you have handled yourself this way in your professional life. How does it make you feel that people can trust your culinary attributes and also trust you as a person?
No, well, it's a lot of factors. In reality, human beings have a process. Professionally, I have a process. We all have a process, but I think beyond that, there's a lot of respect between Jessica and myself. And in general, not so much as Jessica, but also as co-workers. I am very strict, honest in what I do, and I try to handle certain situations with a lot of respect. Well, Jessica in this case has known me for years. She knows more or less part of my life, whether if we are friends, not personal. At work, it is another type of thing. That is, it is another type of traffic. So we have to comply, we have to solve, and we have to do it now. So for me personally, in general, professionally, it seems to me, I work with respect, and the very important value that I have analyzed today. I know it's the business world, the work world, but there are many values that have been lost today that is called the value of respect and loyalty. Beyond the fact that one makes money, for me personally, it is the value that one has to be sincere. It is not really ruining the flow, as they say, but to be sincere and try not to step on anyone. No, no, no. I am anti, how should we say, anti, that is the values that my mom and dad instilled in me, may he rest in peace, is trying to feel a lot of respect and loyalty towards the person. I think not until now. Well, certain problems at the beginning when one is known as a person, but I am a very gentleman. If I am wrong, I apologize. And Jessica David fought with her best friend. And I was wrong, and I apologize for saying gentleman and being human. Do we all make humans and we all go through a bad circumstance? It would be to be proud and be one who believes one more than also in this industry. One is believed a lot, right? I mean, I know that. So the treaty, no, 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 I don't believe much. And that's what a person told him again. A journalist tells me, I had a wedding with a journalist, Alexis, and so many experiences that, you should tell him yes, but I don't believe in myself much. I mean, I've learned, but we are all here to learn. But in general, I don't like stepping, nor that I'm a better chef than me, that I better. I mean, I'm sitting well at my feet on the ground. I always say I would like to be like that person who has that business. I want to get to that level. I imagine that behind me there are people who think the same as me, but have a life. It's a process. The important thing is courage. For me, it's respect.
I definitely like what you just said because your bases are with values of humility because you know that there is always more ignorance than knowledge in life. Can we definitely say that we don't know more, but we always expose what we know, right? And people admire what is known. But for example, in your case, the XU, you're curious, learn even more than you don't know, right? And that's going to make you grow even more as the executive chef, which today doesn't seem very important to me, what you just said about the values of loyalty, right? Why? Because, for example, in order for you to be able to get clients who trust you, they not only have to believe in what you do, but also know the kind of person that Lillian is not in class with. For example, you are in a leadership position every day. This is my question because, for example, in order to be a successful chef like you are, you need freedom to be creative. How important is that for you in your daily development?
That is that the client wants something out of the ordinary, or
For example, if the client asks you for something, Jessica, in this case, I imagine that Jessica is going to tell you, well, the client wants this, and you say to Jessica, Jessica, I'm going to do this for you, but I need the freedom to be able to do it myself as I understand it. No, then you go. So that freedom, sometimes when one works for other people, he doesn't have it. And it is subject to, you said you worked in a kitchen, which you learned a lot, but it was every day. It was the same and the same and the same. But for you, in this case, being a chef, for you, I see that it is important to be free, to be creative and stimulate yourself in a different way in your how important the space of freedom and creativity is for you in your work.
For me, it is very important that there are certain customers who want one specific already, but when I look at something that doesn't fit, or I don't say, you know what, I don't think it's going to be very good, because first I ask the client what type of guest he is. That is, it depends more or less, I would say, what social rank now. Why not my example? On the day I get married, I put dried chicken and spaghetti on my wedding day and eat. Is that what you eat then? But there are other people who have another point of view that they are going to eat filet mignon, osso buco, lamb. So are you going other expectations at the wedding that are going to be high? So it also depends a lot on the client you are addressing, and it depends a lot on the budget. I always start to see what's on the outside, how do they make buffets and everything. But I have tried to innovate, to be creative, to make live food, to eat live things. And instantly, I in particular like that a lot because it gives the client more confidence. So if you see something, example, risotto or live seafood that is for the customer, whether foreign or national, you will say they are doing it instantly. That is, the food is fresh. So the difference is that I try to do something new, I try to innovate, and that depends a lot. First, if the customer accesses, obviously, because customers want something specific. And second, the budget too, because it is not the same to set up a buffet table with certain simple things to make a live station like I have. For example, I think Jessica's client is the one client I had. She was the foreigner, and they told me, milk, do whatever you want at the decorated station in Guayaquil. Of course, I wanted to put a little more things on it, but the table was very small because there was obviously no more space then. I wanted to make a bigger table and things wouldn't fit in, but I wanted to make bigger things. So obviously, it already depends a lot on the customer and well, and cook what you select.
This question is for both of you because since you both mentioned clients, no, and working with clients sometimes leads to us. Let's think helpful to be able to accommodate the measures or expectations that a client has. I ask you this question because I don't know who wants to answer first, but what is he doing? What makes the client in his thinking, in his criteria? What makes a customer demand expectation that he doesn't know?
I think I'm going to answer. I think they also want to have an experience, and the experience is usually something you haven't explored before. Haven't you seen him before then? For them, we are little talking about what Alex said a moment ago, right? And what about you, live or the traditional menu before years ago? Well, we have been working together for 8 years. That is, we have grown, our brands have together. So we have a long history. What's more, I'm going to show you some videos when it occurred to me that I cook on the beach in front of the sea. Do you remember Alex? Yes, it was a
Chaos, what you did was tampur. Alex wanted to do you. I'm going on time.
No, but that was crazy. I'm going to tell that anecdote. So now we tell customers no, because for all this, as owners of our business, we analyze the client. In fact, that's how we do it when you tell him to see how this client is doing. Then we begin. Well, that client is like that in this way, nothing and things that the secrets of the magicians cannot be revealed. And at the moment we say, well, we are going to propose the traditional menu. But if we see potential, we are going to call it that. We are going to propose the betray menu and also the options of live pickings, live menu, etc., etc. So when one talks to the client says, oh, but how then do they start to show Alexis? Because for all that, when I introduce my clients to the chef, who I do like this with every one of my services, I introduce them to the brand owner. No, then. Because to Caesar what Caesar is, I understand that I can offer an excellent menu. I know I can sell my chef's service and say he cooks incredibly well, but he needs to expand into his own world in his own time. And at the moment when he encounters my clients, as they would be my clients then at that time, he tells them we can offer them this. People come here, they like it. We set up a live station for them. We place such and such, alluding to the place or the region, depending on what country it is. Everything has to do with it. So customers haven't experienced it before. That usually happens to us, right, Alexis? They have not seen it before. They have not experienced it. They have seen it. They have already seen it on my networks and they say, I want that. I want how much it costs. And really, the difference is not no, it is abyssing the truth between a service and another. And they say, yes, I want that. In the end, they have high expectations because now at least they have seen it in a video. We'll tell him later, right? And now they want to experience it. Not only them who've already tasted the menu and know the food can be exceptional, they want all their guests to talk about it and exclaim, no, this was fantastic, the food was delicious, and all that. So they take away that entire experience, as Edie Tyler mentioned in EN. In the previous podcast, they relived that experience and loved that after the wedding, which is what we aim for. It's not just an 8 hour or 10-hour event, but an event where every time they reunite with their friends, they reminisce, talk about it again, and recall. In this scenario, the issue of food, which is very significant to me. I don't know if anyone wants to share anything else there.
Move the chicken. There is
A little over here, Alexis, please. Interesting, because that is clients sometimes ask for something that they are unaware of, not because they want to feel a unique experience or want to share that experience. And that is why, for example, in your case, they call you to hire you so that you do something that I think is not as easy to do as organizing a wedding, especially now that he's doing weddings internationally. But we also know each other, don't we? And we see that perhaps the most important thing in the wedding is, I would say, the food, the music, because that is also very essential, not the food and the music, because people want to see an atmosphere like that. I don't know what I know about the place, Beverly Hills or someplace heavenly, but people want to have that experience. I'm going to refer to this. I remember in the 80s and 90s, marriages were chicken noodles. That's what the evolution of a wedding meant, from giving chicken noodles now to giving diversity and an experience, right?
I mean, in my 15-year-old, my mother is not listening to me. Now my mother gave me rice with chicken and a piece of her bread. I don't understand. I don't understand why his bread was part of the decoration. But it was rice with chicken. That is, everyone has given noodles that were wow or rice with chicken. And then they changed it a little more to chicken with orange. There it was already wow, yes or no? Alexis, this is how it has been changing, as if the menu of social events is
right.
Of course, Alexis, you have ever had a client who has really demanded from you, but that demand also made you grow.
Yes, a client. That is the client who touched me. I'm not going to say name. I remember that there was one minister in Ecuador. They arrived at the house. Well, I do a tasting in a literal place. They arrived and they looked good on me from head to toe, standing here like this.
sure.
Kind of like that. So you saw my work? In the beginning, it was as it was. It was money people, the truth is. So they gave me a tasting. So he liked it because they wanted to pass another tasting. I told him there is no problem anymore, but I told him there is an additional cost now. And then there was a moment of unemployment in Ecuador here. And the products and food were not normally sold. It was very expensive. I don't remember. There was no vegetable that was not super expensive. But the customer told me no, he didn't tell me the value, and I paid it. Well, I said, well, let's put the value of 400. The tasting that seemed expensive to me, I think it was 400, I'm not mistaken. Even the lily was something like that. The tasting was super expensive. They were the food. So she wanted some lamb and she wanted like one. She also wanted, apart from St. Louis ribs, a sauce, especially in Emgla. Well, filet mignon. So I said, well, so I did a cost analysis, everything that was going on at that time of the current price because it's so high. Well, I thought the client was going to tell me no.
He told me,
Toy?
He said transferred. Well, I did the tasting. If he liked the type of social rank client was very high, very high. He demanded of me, he told me, look, hey, At the beginning, obviously, the minister suits me well standing, but that's when he began to get to know me. I started interacting because I don't know if it's my gift, but I don't think everyone likes me badly. I'm not pretty as gold, but yes, I know how to reach people. That is, I know how to reach difficult people. I listen a lot because each person is a world and each person is not. If someone has a different opinion than my person or another person, I can. That is, I have my opinion, but I can't change it. I'm very respectful about that. So I have had difficult clients, difficult friendships, but I know how to reach people. I have understood that I don't have to demand what I think and they have to think what everyone, just like I don't. Each person thinks differently, and that's how it is. That's how it is. I like him to respect me, and I respect him. Well, getting to the point, the client made her food. She congratulated me, but it was a live menu. The food, ceviche, after dessert, midnight, I didn't finish. There were 200 guests. I was on the beach. I wasn't super tired. I had almost bad. I mean, literally, almost bad, but complied. The client told me and approached me and told me, Alex, if it was very good. Thank you, everything excellent.
And how is a very important question. And for example, because many people in the professional field, we always have to have an appearance that we handle it and nothing else happens and we live calmly. But for example, in your case, Alexitude constantly. In the kitchen, you experience a different stress. You experience the pressure that things come out hot, turn out well, and that can also satisfy the all, even the most demanding palate as you handle it, that pressure with yourself and with your team.
I always think it's for me. I'm very demanding, and I always think it's for me. As a good restaurant, I demand. I mean, I don't demand it either in hollows because I am very hollow. I like to eat the gaps in very homemade food. I am very supportive of that because my previous boss, who was a well-known gentleman, well, the chef was like that, simple. I had seen him very simple, and he was a very wealthy person. So I get used to certain places that you don't need to go to fancy places to eat well. There are places, but when you go to a place, do they charge 15 or 12 or $20 for the dish? Whatever we can demand because we are already paying for a service to that one. But I try to do things as best as possible. I don't say either I'm the best at. I'd like to say I'm the best. Like everything I say, I am a human being and I can fail, but I am always very sincere. I try to give the client the service as it is. As it is, there are problems that my kitchen has caught fire, what has happened to me, that they have burned, what has slipped, but the client does not convey that. And I always tell him, even my mother touched me on the day of the hours. We went out and I was given somewhat more or less one restaurant that is more or less expensive. I told the girls here, so it's very expensive. So it's expensive for me. He says I need them to give me the specific one. I ordered the dried chicken, but it cost about $16, $16. You can imagine. Then they made me pay. I'm not going to say which restaurant I went to. They made me pay now. They made me pay first. I asked the girl, I said, look, since they made me pay, I need you to give me this dish as it is. I don't need them not to come to me. The surprise is that there are no, I'm paying in advance already perfect. Well, and arriving one. It's because since there I already demand, but I try to understand people. But sometimes people, when they work in the kitchen, and I always give an example to the people who work with, here we are with the client. The client is passing a service. This is how the sick person.
I am sick and I have seen myself, I think I have seen myself with a fever of 19 degrees back. But the client, I believe, I believe that the client is not interested in that. The client must give him his service and give him to the last because he's paying. For me, it is paying, and if you can't try to solve it, but you have to meet the client. So beyond the internal problems you have as a person, not as a professional, the client is not interested, you have to comply. I say the same to the people who work in the kitchen.
1,000 things happen to Jessica. So I always tell Jessica, if there is something that may happen, I will inform you now. But until now, I don't think anything has. No, I don't know if I remember if it happened. I told Jessica, help me with what I need now. But I try to make everything clear.
Solve, of course, and that's the good thing, being decisive, because by being demanding with yourself, do you want to project yourself? I wouldn't say perfection, but a little towards excellence, right? But that's also what's needed In this case, for example, working with Jessica requires good communication, right?
That was where I was going to get.
So my question is for Jessica in this case, because for example, she trusts you, like Jessica, you communicate another person's desire because it doesn't come from you. This comes from the ideology of the client and also the idiosyncrasy of that client, not to Alex. Now the Alexi has to interpret what they told you, not how. How do you maintain that communication and make Alexis catch it and can do it?
In other words, that question it is very good. And I was just going to tell a little bit about what Alexis said a moment ago on the subject of dealing with some imperfection, some discomfort, some health issue, or whatever is happening. Part of our philosophy of our business, let's say it like this, is that for us, it is too important that the client feels very well served in each of the services, right? So, since it is so important that the client has a good experience from start to finish, we handle it from that moment on. If there is any situation, I can't run into it at the... Suppose, as you will know, that everything is marked timing, right? Which is minute by minute. Alexis can't notify me 5 minutes before it's dinner or serving some pickle that is. I lack such a thing. No, 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 it can't happen. But if something happens, he has all the time of the case to be able to solve. And if it is not possible, notify me so that I have to tell the client in the last of the cases that has never happened to us either. We have suddenly had to modify some issue, any situation, whatever that we can no longer manage. You have to let me know because it can't be a surprise for the clients and for me, because in the end, the filter is me, right? So in any of the situations, it doesn't just happen to me with catering. It can happen. Aren't we exempt from problems? No. We're not exempt. That something happens that even though Chef Alexis can be very foresighted, he suddenly forgot the meats. No, that has never happened. But I say, I don't know, for some reason he arrives at the event so early. For some reason he checks, verifies, controls, analyzes hours. So you must solve and cover that deficiency that suddenly could have happened to you. I know things happen to him and he controls them all as much as possible. In the last of the cases, you have to tell me about it. And in the last of the cases, I tell the client. But if it is not handled internally in such a way that the client is still given the corresponding attention.
So Alexis is a person who tries to prevent problems. So how do you do it? Are you
communicative? He's very communicative. The question you asked me a moment ago regarding how I can transfer the information to I am the point and to B. Do you understand me? I think time, maybe not like that. Logically, experience makes you a little know how to filter information. Normally, when I have a couple of clients, I've been talking to them for a while, right? So I'm analyzing his taste. What are the experiences that the places frequented by a restaurant you attend? What kind of food do you like? Not that I'm intolerant, that I'm that issue, that my dad is a chef. We happen to see Alexis, that I have a supermarket store. I give them meat. Many things have happened to us and many proposals come out. So then all that information that comes to me, I tell my chef and I tell him, this is the next case. It's this, this we are going to do to him. In the end, it's a how. How do I explain Wendell to you? For us, it is also a test every time we appear before the client, because let's say they hire me, everything good. Let's say I'm already in. Then my suppliers, right? So let's go on a visit with the chef. There is always a probability that they won't be able to hire him because they may not like the menu, they may not like it, they may find it heavy, God knows things can. So at the end of the day, we have already been reviewing, talking, analyzing what is going to be offered to the client and the day of the tasting, which is the presentation that is made to the chef with my clients. They are going to decide whether we really get it right or not. So finally, there always has to always have that risk. We never go We never go like, or at least maybe it can be something very good enough. We never go with full security. We are always waiting for it to be approved by customers. If I like what it is, I like it. My clients probably do, but there's a chance they don't. So in 100% of cases, we're going to look like this. As Alex said, if he is very humble, he will never have enough. I will not have enough self. So we are always like giving him an exam. And to give an exam, you have to do it well. You have to study it every time. You have to practice. I think that's a success thing of being able to fit into the coma in the client's mind, then transfer it to the chef, in the end capture it, in this case in a
menu. Of course, nothing is certain, but what I do want to rescue a lot from this communication is that, for example, if we analyze why Alexis is trusted as a chef, not only because he has the gift of cooking well and preparing good meals, right? And impressive. But we have to see what's going on behind the scenes, don't we? What's the matter? Alexis is a management operationally with prevention, and many people are not, many human beings are not preventive, they are reactive. For example, Alexis, from what I understand, Alexis, you have a proactive approach to preventing disasters. So what does this do psychologically? It makes you have confidence not only in yourself, but also to prevent you from failing not only your client, but failing yourself and failing your team. Now, I ask you why you had a mentor. Where did you learn this? And what did you learn from your mentor? This Gino Molina.
That tells me about solving things.
Yes, if you are proactive and preventive, where did you acquire that knowledge?
I think I learned that it is the measure of experience. It is the measure that passes from day to day. So things happen and new things happen and one has to fix. So I try to be preemptive. What has happened to me has new things can happen to me, which is an example for me. Well, I had a wedding on the beach. I remember so much. It was a place that was semi-exclusive in Manabi. And there were rats like that, some rats in the kitchen. I mean, excuse me for saying, they lent me the kitchen on the beach and I had to cook on the chairs. But that was because that place, the beach, was next to the sea. But I was trying to make it my own, keep the products good. But for example, I can't do that kind of thing anymore. What I did was try to ensure that there was no cross contamination, try to ensure that everything was fine. But I looked like I looked up at some, I think, animals and said, God, and it was a wedding for some Spaniard. And I said, God before, and I have a phobia of those animals. And I was literally on the chair doing things like that and waiting for it to, and I didn't do anything, but I looked from afar, but it was a place that was actually next to it, next to the seashore. It was one of the best places in Manavi, and that's it. And that's it. But the bad thing is that there was that. Obviously, I bring my kitchen utensils, my kitchen things, cook everything, and so on, but those kinds of things don't get out of my hands anymore. I'm going to start doing catching, killing those animals there, and it was a herd. Obviously, it was next to a field of everything, next to urine. So that kind of thing. An example for me was already new, but now today, and if I go to a place, I first, oh, and what's this like at night? Now, how about mosquitoes? There is light, water. That's perfect. So I try to go to new places that I haven't worked in and see what it's like. If I already know the place, obviously I already know how to go, but if I see that it's a new place, I have to go by law to see, because there are always new things and there are always things. I have to be preventive even in my own death. Well, Jessica knows I have a painting in the living room, which is the day I die. They believe me and put me there, and I don't want them to see me like that, dead like that. No, I am in myself. I am very preventive. I think of something. Later, I don't want to have any problems, or that is, avoid certain problems personally and professionally.
Sure, and that helps you project yourself, right? And it's good that you mentioned the projection because you started studying being curious about gastronomy and you met your mentor who ended up we talked about how important Gino Molinari was to you. What do you think he saw in you to be able to be your mentor, and what do you value most and what you learned from?
Humility always, humility and respect. And you have to be fair, right? Not seeing that the people who work with you, how good
there are colleagues who think that one, or the people who work with them are employees, or who give him rice with chicken. Another thing that I really don't like when there is classism, obviously in the Gino case, he taught me that people like that are service people. You have to treat him with respect and humility. Everyone deserves respect and humility, just as you have to be just like her, treat the same with respect. So the people who work with you need respect. That is, I think, because that person eats rice with minestra at a wedding. If I can give the same menu as the wedding previously, trying to do it with this type of simpler protein. But I mean, that's what I've learned from that in humility, respect, and that we all deserve. I don't know, that is because there are people who like to work for free or don't like to do anything. But that means not helping them sometimes. But we all need help. Humility to all that respect, of course.
And you talked about classism, didn't you? Then, for example, at weddings, the classism is very noticeable, isn't it? And
I can put something down. Sorry, let me interrupt you, Wendy. I can put something down there because you know that within my services, I don't always work with Chef Alexis. Part of my services is not the diversity of my suppliers, which for budget issues, we have to suddenly use ourselves. We have option A, option B, which are equally good, but everyone manages their own style, is what it is. Right? But apart from this, they are also usually hired in wedding services where the service already exists, including catering. So that's where they step in. I have come across a series of situations that make me uncomfortable and that I see a lot about class. For example, when they hire me, do I automatically indicate which services are included, which suppliers remain? Especially if it is an event outside the city, not which suppliers we have to feed, because they stay throughout the event. They work 708H, for example, the photographers, the planner team, if we have a musical band, which in fact usually consists of 78,910 people, but they are people who he arrives in the morning to assemble things and then they are already at the event at night, right? So logically, we should provide them with equal power. Each of these things are in their contract. I have clients and clients. There are clients who tell you, of course, there is no problem anymore. You tell me what the detail is. And well, Chef Alexis gives us a bomb price. Wow, for the suppliers. No, this way we eat the same menu. Maybe not with less protein, but the menu is still the same. So I have come across events that are not 100% mine, which is what I want to mention. And well, you know what? Buy them ham, buy them hot dogs, buy them a pizza, and let them eat. Then, of course, and my head is, yeah, I know. Yeah, and what's worse is, but you, yes, don't worry because you do you and your team. I feel that is, they give me a me, they nail me a scam. Look, because I am very clear that part of the business or what BIM Planner is includes 100% of the services that I offer, right? And therefore we all deserve the same. We are all service providers. We all value a cost that they hire. So the planner does eat well, doesn't she? I mean, no one's ever told me. Be careful. It is a very personal criterion of mine because I am not a classist either. I don't like that. I don't like it. And it is something that also has a lot to do with the culture of the country, etc., etc. No, then I say, how if I am going to eat that and my staff or the people who are here are going to eat pizza? I don't think I can persuade him. That on many occasions I have achieved it, and on other occasions it is not possible anymore. I even hide to eat because I'm ashamed, and it does give me notice that they suddenly think it's me because maybe we have found out about Alexis. In other words, if there are colleagues who work that way for my staff and me, give us our best. And the suppliers to watch what they do, watch where they eat, give them 3 hours to eat rice with minestra around the corner. So these are things that don't seem to me. If it's up to me, if 100% of the wedding is mine, that's not going to happen, and my suppliers know it. Leave it from the Lord. Let the people who are ordering, the security guards, take care of the car. I mean, it's the full staff.
of course, well, the experience that every person wants to have is to feel worthy, right? So dignity is where people who have elitist classicism tend to think the fact that they have social privileges and they have economic reach, they think that they are above the dignity of people. And this leads to narcissistic things. Unfortunately, Psychological terms are they're small stages of narcissism, feeling superior, feeling in control. So all these details make and create a social imbalance. Let's not even go that far, shall we? When I lived in Ecuador, Black people were never treated well and never with dignity. Let us be very clear. There is a lot, and it is not even so much racism, but knowing that economically and socially Black or indigenous people are perhaps very poor. But I remember in Ecuador, when you saw a woman with eyes, with forgiveness, with eyes, light eyes, blonde hair, he was treated much better. So that classism sometimes also has a lot to do with how we visualize what is superior, right? I mean, we give those categories. Alexis, I wanted to ask you why. I imagine that you deal a lot with your environment, especially with foreigners. What is the difference that you see between those who hire you from abroad and those who hire you nationally? Or
Be the case, it is the same because obviously what the foreigner wants is a good thing if it is the foreigner. And you want some Ecuadorian food? Maybe it's something like for me to make it beautiful, alone gourmet, but the national one is the same. I don't think it has touched me. No, no. I mean, no, no. What the example has demanded of me is the issue of food, which in reality I do like to be demanded. No, that is because I am paying. That is, if they are paying, they have to demand.
I'm not going to put it either.
To tell him, no, this is what there is, this is what there is, yeah, and this can be done. No, it's not like that. That is for me, no, no. That is when I go to places like that, he tells me, no, this is what there is, yeah, and you see how you get the service, or you want this. No, no, I think that's the case. A dollar one has to try to make that dollar justified now and say, well, it's okay. I also know how to tip when someone treats me well, but when someone treats me badly, literally, I stop, I pay my own bill myself and leave that simple. And that's what I did. It was on Sunday. I literally paid, I left. He asked me, and then he was after me apologizing. But I said, between myself, I say, no, I tell the person, I say, as much as I or as anyone who comes here must deserve respect. Don't try to, of wanting because you pay less and the service is bad. No, no, no. I mean, obviously, there is a budget. The same service is going to be 3 different meals. It is no longer the same as a thin loin as a meat rule. No, it is not the same. So it is the food, but the service is still the same.
Alexis, since you are in this project with Jessica from Del Welling Destination Ecuador and it is being projected, right? And they're coming. What food would you recommend to a foreigner that he cannot miss?
It depends a lot. That is, if we are talking. I worked with Germans, Spaniards, American people. Brazil also depends a lot because I can do it to the client. Look, I want to make this Ecuadorian with Colombian or Ecuadorian with American. So what I suggest to her is that there are like 70 Ecuadorians and 30 foreigners, as well as that foreign guests can eat something that they feel safe. Oh, these are mine and I'm going to like them. If in case I don't like them, but the suggestion is that I give you that if they come to Ecuador, obviously try to make something of ourselves. Obviously, I already know what the tastes of each foreigner are. So, for example, the Americans, the United States, I know that they don't eat much fish, as well as fish in seafood sauce, paella. They have a little bit, as well as respect. On the other hand, if a shrimp comes, if a thin loin, a turkey, or a salmon comes from a sweep in a buffet, but if they see something like paella, it's like I have to suggest to the client, look at him. I know that foreigners, Americans are a little reactive when it comes to seafood. They have to be very careful. I suggest you make only shrimp because they do have more. Does it give you more confidence? That thing about making octopus, making squid, things like that is like they're going to say, are you going to hurt me? I'm going to get poisoned and don't eat. So I try to give him the suggestion as a cook.
That's good. And also knowing the culture of like you say, not trying to make them feel safe at a party. Logically, they are investing good capital, right? And something I wanted to mention to both of you, this is not the importance of the fact that when the event ends and sometimes praise arrives, sometimes constructive criticism also arrives between the two of you. What is that communication of praise and constructive criticism criticism like? Because I imagine they must have it because they have both grown and grown, perhaps in many projects together. How does that look on both sides?
Well, Jessica, he has more contact with the client. He's the one who can give him an answer. I don't have much contact, so I try not to. In other words, as I always tell you, for me, I respect the client. I am very respectful. That is, if yours until there, yeah, but I'm not the typical chef that Jessica knows that, that hello, how are you, Nyan? I'm very respectful. So beyond, I always ask Jessica, Jessica's microphone is off.
Sorry.
Yes, that's correct.
Alexis is very polite. I can answer that part. He always asks me for feedback. We are used, in fact, to making a phone call the next day. Well, Sunday, no. On Sunday, we are dying alive. We are zombies. No one wants to know anything about each other, but Monday is coming. The revolutions have already gone down. Whoever rested has already fallen. So he has Alexis's question. He calls me. He is so respectful. He has known me for so many years. He's one of my best friends, in fact, and he tells me, Miss Jessica, I love that you say yes to me first.
Because it's already happened. You already know about it.
Not that that's who I am.
Com-
It's always been like this. That is how I treat it.
a lot of respect for something like that.
There. So you tell me, how did you like it? How was it? What did the clients tell you then? Of course, he expects the feedback that I expect on Sunday or Monday from my clients. Normally, clients usually write to me on Sunday. I wait until Monday. In fact, we are starting to get nervous. When Alexis asks, I don't know anything about the clients. They haven't told me anything. They haven't written what it's going to be. Sure, us. Not within our human part, because we have a lot of awareness of when one does things well, one says, well, I did well, but from there, leave it. From there to let us know if they really liked it. 1.2, if perhaps you received an observation from a guest, if something suddenly seems strange to you, etc., then if we really like to know what the customer thinks about the service, then we need a lot of that. Do I ask the client a lot? Now I am already creating the culture of inviting them to go out, for us to have a coffee and for us to talk a little outside the framework of the negotiation, because the event has already come true. The event took place. This all went well, apparently, but what happened the moment planner's eyes were gone? The chef wasn't waiting. Suddenly, something happened. So, in these meetings, it's when they say, yes, everything was fine, but then here come the buts. In many cases, everything is good, everything is very good, but when there have been those buts, they have helped us, as Alexis says, to grow. Because we have had other feet at the beginning of our services. We had many things. We even fought for about 1 year, Alexis.
Well, I didn't fight.
I fought him. He didn't fight with me, but I didn't talk to him, not really to the partner, but that's why. It was really due to discomfort on the part of the client. As I say, no, you can't make me look bad. I mean, we're a team. The event, imagine Wender in all its magnitude, turned out perfect. But there was a situation then for me, that situation already left me bad. It left me disengaged. I couldn't deal with that topic. So that caused us a lot of friction as colleagues. And well, he had a partner. Then sadly, the partner took a different attitude. I didn't know he was going. I started to say, well, you know what? I do admit my guilt because we're human. I just said, Alex, if we're not human, we can be wrong. I admit my guilt, Jessica, really this. And no. He looked for, I don't know what happened to him that day. I must assume that he had a day. Maybe he looked for the worst words. He forgot that I was his friend, let's say, and that for and as a friend, I deserve respect. Let's talk about respect. That's why we have it super clear. As his colleague and friend, I deserve respect for him to talk to me in that very rude way. So I resented it. Unfortunately, Alexis was his partner. So let's say he came out, as they say, bulk in, but really the argument wasn't with him. It was with the part. He didn't take the blame for everything that happened. So there came this entire situation about us not fighting. Let's put it this way with the brand. But truly, Alexis's attitude from then on was phenomenal because he behaved well. He apologized. He was very considerate to my business, me for a considerable time. That situation did leave me feeling bitter. But more than the act, because we can all fail, We can all make mistakes. And at the beginning of our process, we have made mistakes. And that has helped us never to do it again, because we are clearly aware that that mistake cost us a lot, and economically too. So imagine, but from then on, this was a before and after for Alex and me. A before and an after, that is, from then on, he took, I don't know, he adopted an attitude. Well, he always maintained it. I mean, that's why he said it was the brand, but the brand had two people and the friction I had with a person. But since it was the brand was involved, that really out of another passion. From then on, after that one setback we did not have any more problems. But yes, we talk a lot. We have a lot of communication to avoid situations like this.
Well, I think that in the experiences I have had in life, you can never please everyone, and you have to know how to choose your battle, not the no. Everyone is going to be pleased with what you do, just as there are going to be many who are going to be pleased, and perhaps one has to evaluate relationships because, for example, the client left. He's no longer a customer, but your suppliers are going to be there. So I think you always have to think that sometimes losing is winning, don't you?
Sure.
Losing is winning. Why? Because, for example, in this situation that you have had, and yes, logically they gave you one. A criterion, a comment, and which sometimes generates reactions. It's not logical because we want to do things perfectly, but I think it's important. I think so too.
It's important.
I think it's important to let the client know that there is no such thing as perfection. So from there, start saying these are the things that are possible. That is, possibilities means that they are not facts and they are not things that have to be built. And to build them, you need not only the facts, but you need people to be able to exercise them together, including the client. So I think it is very important to know that the client, even though he pays, is going to demand, and one demands himself. The client also has to be aware that human error can exist. But if human error is minimal and not noticeable, that is what one projects as everything turned out perfect. Well, the truth is, nothing turns out perfect. Let's face it, there are not always problems that are not known. I wanted to ask you, Alexis, to conclude this. What advice would you give to a person who is trying to take the profession that you have taken? And hence the truth, I am curious to know what your food is, your favorite dish, something that you would prepare for yourself.
I know that answer as there was I am and the.
I understand well.
His favorite is the chicken tikka.
Indeed, but dry chicken look like a baby with whiskey yee beer.
You see?
I like that with the dry chicken with beer and the last whiskey, the smell like that. I mean, I love the smell of dry wine, but I'm not one to drink, so I don't drink it either because I'm an athlete and I take great care of myself in my diet. But I really like the smell of wine and whiskey. I've eaten a lot, and that is why the advice I give to people who start gastronomy is not to do it for money, but to do it because they like it. Yes, I mean it's nice. Oh, and another thing, when I see someone in the kitchen, a chef or cook, I see him dirty nails, teeth. I mean, it's something that my previous boss also instilled in me about being a cook. Doesn't mean you're gonna walk dirty or walk smelly. You have to be neat. You have to take care of yourself because you handle food. So here in Ecuador, I have seen a lot of cook that a physique is not taken care of because that is you are eating a spoon and you are tasting the food with dirty teeth. You have damaged teeth and you are eating infection. So no, I'm in that sense, I'm kind of thematic. So when one says gastronomy, you don't have to love cooking and also take care of yourself. No, the fact of being a cook is that everything is dirty. That is in general. In general, I know no, there is no budget, there is no money, there is no factor. But external and internal cleaning is the same. That is, one has to take care of itself. Study astronomy.
Of course, how could they hire you? We know that through Dream Planner, logically, it's an avenue that they have when they hire a wedding. From what I understand, Alexis, your Dream Planners plan A, B, and C. But for example, if someone wants to hire you to be a private chef for an event, how can they do that?
There you can contact me on Instagram.
which is there. There is the arrow directly to WhatsApp, which is cuisine in French cuisine event.
Or K this Jessica to be able to combine, and you who are the president of Dream Planner who sees Alexis here with you in this project, which is where you want him to grow with you in this.
Well, I hope they are already getting the visa because the project has many. They have many aspirations, not beyond what we have achieved so far. And like him, he has been giving himself little by little to his brand because in the end, what he presents speaks of his brand. It didn't turn out well as a planner, logically, or as an agency that hires our chef. But in the end, customers know Chef Alexis presents the ta menu. So it's not yes that he has rich cuisine. No, not at all. So what I expect from him is what has been happening so far, which is that he has been preparing more and more in the tasting of his dishes. Every time I go to a tasting, it has something new, it has something different. He has some type of different preparation. And since we are very visual, that's what I liked and loved about him, not that gradually specialized. What do I expect from him? What we have been maintaining until now. His growth as a professional is really innovating. He is in fact implementing more and more elements, and the elements we are talking about, and that not only has to do with the food, with the flavor and presentation, but with the implements, the glassware, what is used, the tableware, everything sadly comprises a whole. Not all providers see it this way. Let's say not all planners, not in my case, in my particular case, I do see the total. Not then, as I know. How does he work? I know how cultured cleaning is, the thematic, or rather, it is very thematic. On the subject of cleaning, it's something that speaks very well of him. I expect no less than what he has done so far, but that he continues to grow much more and learn a little more every time. From the menus of international gastronomy, how are they prepared in other countries? So this way, we can live up to the weight in destinations when they hire us.
Alexis, I would love to do a second part with you because something you said left me a little curious. The importance of tasting, right? And then I would like to make you a formal invitation since we are here on this platform for you to participate. Likewise, we are going to spend 1 hour talking about tasting and also, for example, about the contamination of a product and the difference in nutrition with food. So I don't know if you'd like to participate. I think it's very spectacular what you did with Jessica today. Jessica, very good work too. But I would like to, because I think there is a lot of misinformation. And for example, you being in the specialty of nutrition, gastronomy, and also product, how can they be contaminated and apart?
By
This is also an example of why it is good to invest in a tasting before a wedding then. I don't know about you, Alex. I'd love to invite.
It's always the same. As I told you yesterday, they let me know in time to do it. Sorry, it cuts it there and we have battery grease.
No, never mind, never mind. Well, that's how we end our episode, Dream Planner. As always, you know where to contact her. Alexis, also, all your information is on our page when we make the reels and short. You will be impressed with what they have, the content they have, and also do not forget if you want your dream wedding. Here they are. They have Dream Planner and Cusim Event. Datelos Alexis. Chef Alexis is, you are going to hear it on the podcast that comes out on May 30 in media, how Alexis speaks highly of you with and how Dream Planner made all this a reality. So see you in the next episode.
thank you. Yes, write it too.
Alexis, please follow my YouTube channel, but thanks, no thanks, boy, because now I have to go meet some colleagues and drivers. I have an upcoming meeting and need to head out soon, but Alexis is truly exceptional. Jessica, you always push the boundaries and I appreciate it. Jessica and I will coordinate it because I find it highly intriguing. Alexis.
That's all right.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you indeed.
Vamos a hacer un pequeño cambio de planes. En la casa donde está el novio con toda su corte, se fue la luz inesperadamente. Así que acá tenemos habitaciones, voy a ambientársela para que vengan acá. Y nos toca cambiar el tema de la sesión de fotos de ellos. Por suerte hay plan B.
Bueno, la distribución sería de esta manera.
Ok.
En esta de aquí, como te dije, en las mesas circulares siempre van a ir 8 personas, que bueno, algunas que son de 7 también.
There we go.
Bueno, les comento que ya estamos en la recta final del evento, más o menos aproximadamente unos 45 minutos antes, ubicamos ya todo lo que es dulces. Como estamos en la playa, no podemos ponerlo con mucho tiempo de anticipación por el sol. Podemos también ver esta área que tenemos acá, una estación. Yo creo que esta es la área más divertida y la mejor manera de poder recibir a los invitados. ¿A quién no le gustaría llegar al evento y recibir un shot?
Eso, puedes bajar un poquito el hombro, baja el hombro, eso, relájalo. Ahí, perfecto.
Exacto. Primero tiene que sonar Canon, y luego suena esta, y luego suena
Bueno, ahorita estamos montando algo como tipo de la costa hacia Ecuador. Y la idea fue de la novia, porque el novio es americano, entonces tuvo la idea de la novia de decir, ¿sabes qué, Ale? Necesito que me haga una estación de piqueos autóctonos de nosotros. Estamos todavía los preparativos.
Para atrás, un poquito para atrás, un poquito para atrás, un poquito para atrás. Tiger, mamá de Tiger. Acá. A ver, pónganse. Ya.
I'm trying to